So would you say that you're afraid to make mistakes?
I would say they're my least favorite kind of steaks.
Rafi's tips for artists because he loves you.
Hola, you amazing artists. Today we're going to talk about making mistakes and what my opinion and Clee's opinion is on making mistakes and whether or not it's so bad or so terrible, because a lot of times I know that a lot of artists approach us and they're working on a project or something and they're worried about making mistakes, or they're under the illusion that once you've been doing this art thing for a while that you don't make mistakes. And the truth is, mistakes happen.
Yeah, they're kind of unavoidable, especially when you're doing something for the first time.
As an artist, a lot of times creation really comes from inspiration, which means that you are pushing outside of your comfort zone and you are going to definitely make mistakes. And I think that this kind of covers like all the areas of it, not only in the creation of art, but also in the idea that you might make a mistake, or that the nerves of starting an art career or putting yourself out there in any way, shape, or form and thinking that there is a possibility that you're going to make a mistake and having that stop you from taking that step towards that thing that is unknown. For me personally, I think as an artist, one of the biggest positives that I had in my life was the idea of embracing making mistakes, understanding that every work of art that I work on, everything that I create, you guys, everything that I create is basically a series of micro mistakes being repaired. I'm going to try and get this piece as perfect as I possibly can. There is no such thing as perfection. There is only me looking at the piece and deciding like, okay, it's done. I think it's done. I can live with that little mistake there. I can live with that little mistake there. It looks good to me.
It's done when your mistakes are visually pleasing.
Yes, when your mistakes are visually pleasing. And honestly, there's a lot of times where I've worked on pieces where I've made mistakes on the piece, and then in the process of trying to tweak it, I've come up with some weird new technique that I'm like, whoa, that actually turned out really cool.
Whoa, how did you do that?
Yeah.
You're like, I
don't.
completely deliberately.
Yes, I did that on purpose.
Mistakes are how I figure out the way that stuff works, you know?
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with, like, metal or fire, or in your case, different mediums. Like, you have to, like, figure out how it works and how it doesn't work.
I think that's why I really push the idea of experimentation. You know, the willingness to get out there and work with things in a way that maybe are outside of your comfort zone, because I think that that's one of the reasons that a lot of people get used to just doing things a certain way or just sticking with what they know. You hear that all the time, like just stick with what you know. For the most part, when you make a mistake, a lot of times you're able to tweak it and pretty much fix it before it gets out there. So for example, with a lot of the work that you're working on, even if it is something challenging, just remember, you're going to be able to fix it before you put it out there. And then there are mistakes that you make where you put it out there, and so it's out there and the mistake is there. And this happens usually when you're working on stuff that you've never really worked on before. I recorded an audiobook, and let me tell you, the book, there was a series of mistakes that happened through there. There's probably a bunch of grammatical errors and stuff like that, even with all the work that we put in there. And the thing about that is that I don't really worry too much about that, because one of the books from one of my favorite authors, I remember reading this book, and one of the words that was supposed to say magician actually said musician. And I thought it was funny because this was published through a publishing house. So that means that the author missed it. The editors missed it. All these people that were involved in creating this book totally missed this typo. And it still got out there. And really, as a fan and a reader, like, I don't care that that's in there. I understand fully that, that's a typo. It's a mistake. No big deal.
You weren't like, henceforth, I shall not read this author.
Right, exactly. Like, oh no, you messed up this one word. That's it. I'm never reading your stuff again. The other thing where there's a mistake out there that is in public is when I record the audiobook. Now, the audiobook was another thing that I put out there where there was, in the creation of it, there was a series of mistakes, and I basically accidentally deleted like 100 pages worth of audio and then had to re-record. So it was like this huge thing, right? And then at the end of it, I put it out there. I was like, that's it. The audio book is out there. And then today I get a phone call from a friend of mine who's listening to it, who said, hey, you do realize you repeated chapter 19 in the book.
No kidding.
Yeah. Now, we're doing an audio commentary. We haven't gotten there yet, but apparently I repeated an entire chapter in the book. And ironically enough, the chapter that I repeated is called Failure is a Work in Progress.
Were you like, that was completely intentional?
Right. Well, there was a part of me that was like, I thought to myself, like, I could probably just say that was intentional because it works out beautifully. Like, one of the reasons that people are afraid to make mistakes is because they somehow associate making a mistake with failure, with being not good enough, and being really taught that it's bad to make mistakes.
We think the stakes are really high when it comes to mistakes.
Yeah, we do think that the stakes are really high because, what do we grow up with? You go to school and what do you get when you make a mistake on a project that you're working on? You get big red marker and you get a big F. People think that making a mistake is just the worst thing in the world. Like, it is the end of the world if you make a mistake. And the truth of the matter is that, like, everyone makes mistakes. Apparently I can't say that. I'm making a mistake trying to say that. The truth of the matter is that everyone makes mistakes. Yes. When it comes to our career, for example, it wasn't like everything just flowed beautifully and every decision and every choice we made in order to put ourselves out there and really make our career a reality, that everything was peachy keen and perfect. We made so many mistakes. We bumbled and fumbled and just kind of like bumbled our way through the entire thing. Because we were willing to make mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and then move on and tweak them and just tweak everything as you go. I think that that's where flexibility comes in. Put yourself out there and be willing to make the mistakes and be willing to admit, like, yeah, I made these mistakes. Big deal. Move on. Let's go.
Yeah, and looking back, like, which ones were mistakes? I don't know. They all led to the point that I'm at right now, and I'm pretty happy.
When I talk about failure, I say it is impossible to fail unless you give up. Basically, you're going to make a mistake. Something's not going to work out, and that's fine. As long as you keep going and you tweak and maybe you change direction a little bit, or you make sure that you work it out, that you have a make it work moment. Like Clea and I like to say, like, on days where it's like, it looks like the shit is hitting the fan, we're like, all right, time to have a make it work moment.
Yes, indeed. A make it work moment. That was a lame comment.
Yes, it was.
That was a mistake.
You have failed this city. My concern comes when I talk to, like young aspiring artists or just young creatives or musicians or anybody that wants to like start putting their stuff out there. It's almost like they're in a holding pattern because they want to make sure that they get everything so perfect because they're so afraid of making a mistake, or looking bad. I think that that's the biggest thing. Like, people also associate making mistakes with looking bad. And really, who are you looking bad to? And do you care? Do you care if somebody's opinion of you is based on the fact that you made an oops and you're like, whoops?
They'll be like, amateur, and you'll be like, well, I am an amateur at this particular thing.
We're all amateurs at the next step in our career. It doesn't matter how long you've been an artist. It doesn't matter that we've been doing this for 10 years. The fact is, when it comes to where we are recently in our career, because we're evolving and because we're moving forward and because we're going outside of our comfort zone, we are always amateurs. Like, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. You could call yourself an expert, but that's only if you decide to plateau and you're just coasting in only what you know. I don't like coasting in where I'm comfortable and what I know. I'm constantly reaching for the next thing, constantly trying something new, constantly pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. And I think that that's important because I've heard from a lot of artists that have also been doing this for like 15, 16, 20 years, and they're unhappy and they feel like their career is not really going anywhere or that it's not growing. And then my question is always like, well, how much are you pushing outside of your comfort zone? Are you just sticking to what you think works and what you know? Because if you are just sticking to what you think works and what you know, There's no growth in that. You have to keep trying things that are not things that you've done before. Are you reaching for a place where, like, yeah, you're going to make a mistake. You're going to screw it up. You're going to screw the pooch on this one. I never understood that, screw the pooch.
I don't know where that came from either.
Doesn't
that
sound...
was probably a mistake in what someone thought they heard.
I think it is the willingness to get out there and just make mistakes. Just go for stuff that you don't understand. Understand that, like, yes, you are going to make mistakes, and that is okay. It is absolutely and completely okay to make mistakes, even if you put it out there in the world and, you know, thousands of people have bought it already. And yeah.
It's okay. They just need to hear that chapter again.
Totally did it on purpose. I mean, you need to hear about failure at least twice before it really sticks into the brain jar. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are as far as like how you approach mistakes, how you approach that whole concept, and go ahead and leave that in the comment section below. And thank you so much for watching, you guys. You guys are absolutely freaking amazing. I totally adore you. And if you like this and you want to watch more like this, just click right over here to subscribe. And that's it. Say goodbye, Clee.
Good day.
Adios.
Total awesomeness.
This video was full of mistakes.